107.5 GCI, the Shine's number one for hip-hop and R&B. We are the Chicago Want to Take Over.
Yes,
myself,
sir.
Kyle, Kendra G, and Leon. And look, man, we're lucky enough to be a part of WGCI and the family, but there were plenty of people who laid down a lot of groundwork well before, at least Kendra and myself got here. And one of those guys who reigns on as a legacy, or his legacy reigns on in the city, and we talk about consistently, is DJ Timbuck2. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the foundation moving forward, what it means to have this going on and the things that you guys are doing in his name, what his legacy means to the city, the nonprofit organization that started in his name, and just everything pertaining to Timbuck2 today. This is going to be a good conversation right here. So we have a few people in the studio. We'll start out with Tim's parents. Good morning. How are y'all?
Good morning.
Doing good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How would you like to be referred to on the air? Mom and Pops?
Mom and Dad.
But yes, Mr. Ed Jones and Miss Bernadette are here as well. It's a pleasure to have you out here.
Thank you for having us.
We also have Rich Lomax here as well. What up, brother?
What's going on?
I'll be
Kyle?
seeing you carrying the torch all the time on
striving
social
to keep
media and
his
just
name
around
out
the
here,
city.
brother. We striving.
No doubt. So I guess we could start with the fact that coming up in a week or so is the foundation event in support of the foundation in Tim's name.
Indeed.
Yeah.
December 19th, we're at the House of Blues this year. It's all about Tim. This is our third annual tribute, and we're bringing in some heavy hitters. Some folks are flying in, some driving in. We're going all out this year.
Yeah. That's dope. That's
Indeed.
dope. This is the third one. How did it get to this point? Like, what was it that, we all know that unfortunately we lost, Tim a few years back, but what sparked this particular event? After his passing?
It was kind of a surprise to a lot of folks because a lot of people didn't know that Tim was affected with cancer. So his death it caught a lot of people off guard, and people didn't know how to react. So Boy Genius and his parents and Sharif, Demo, and I, we all got together. We're just like, look, let's put an event together. So we threw it together real quick, reached out to the guys over at Metro. And, they was like, of course, Tim has rocked here plenty of times, and we want to keep it going. So they opened the doors for us for the past 2 years. And, the event was a success. Last minute, we was calling in favors. Daylight was like, look, Tim rocked with us plenty of times. Came out. Twister came out.
Yeah.
Vic Mensa came out. So it was just like so many people came out and volunteered their time and their craft to this event, and it's just been growing every year, and we figured we'll keep on growing it by bringing it on over to the House of Blues this year.
Nice.
So we have, like Kyle mentioned, we have Timbuck2's parents in the studio, and his mother is so beautiful, and I want to just talk to you. So it's been 2 years now since you lost your son. And for those who don't know, can you give us the story again? And we were just talking a little bit off the mic, but Tim passed away from cancer that was genetic.
Yeah, it's a renal cell carcinoma. I didn't. I took a genetic test and realized that I was a carrier of the gene, and was told that I should have my children tested to see if they were. I wasn't going to come down with the kidney cancer, but possibility of my children coming down with it was 50-50, and any of my siblings' children. And you know how children are. They say, oh, I'm fine, Mom, I'm going to be all right. And that was in 2012. So none of them bothered to go and get tested. And in 2013, we started noticing Tim change in his appearance, and his attitude, his how lively he was, his vibrance, and Sunday was always dinner at Mom's house, and he was always diving in for seconds. Suddenly, he could barely eat the one meal put out there. And then it turned into, can you wrap that up? I'll take it home, Mom, So I was always on him when he did come over, about, what's going on? You don't look good, and he became very irritable about it, why you always on me about how I look? Can't you say something else to me about how's everything, how's work going, and that kind of thing. It was not his character to be like that, to be that abrupt. So, excuse me. He had all of 2013 to go to the doctor, which I kept pushing for him and offering to go with him. But he was always too busy. He had the usual excuses that men have. There's nothing wrong with me. I just need to rest. I'm ripping and running. It's too expensive. I can't afford it. I don't have insurance. And we always had answers for him. We'll pay for it. Just take one day out of your life. Figure this out. Nobody should be hurting every day, like that. There's something wrong, and it's always in the back of my mind about this, genetic thing going on, until one day he called me in 2014 and said, Mom, I'm coughing up blood and urinating blood. And that kind of woke him up. And I said, be ready in 15 minutes. I'm coming over there to get you. It's time to go to the doctor. It's time to go to the ER.
So when he found out that he had cancer, what stage was he in at this moment?
At that point, it was stage 4.
Wow.
Stage 4 is...
yeah.
You have to understand one thing with renal cell cancer. It's not noticeable until you reach stage 4, which is generally why a lot of folks don't survive it. Folks that who are fortunate enough to have it diagnosed, they have a better outcome generally. But this is something that it generally, by the time it's noticeable or giving you symptoms, it's pretty well advanced. Yeah. So even in his case, it has started to metastasize, and that's where he was getting all of these different symptoms. And a lot of folks, like he had the cough, they thought he had pneumonia.
He had a cough for a whole year.
Yeah, and it was his response was always, "I just need rest," because he did the nightlife. You guys know about that, and he always thought that was a contributing. Being in places where they constantly smoked and things like that. So it is a big issue, and that's why our foundation is based on that whole premise of being proactive about men's health care.
Because you guys do feel like if he would have taken your if he would have taken your advice, at the very least we could have slowed this process down.
Absolutely. I believe with all my heart that when in 2013 when he first started feeling that difference in your body that is not the norm, go to the doctor. Doc, I feel this, it's not normal for me to feel this way. I'm coughing all the time. I'm tired. Could you check me out? Yeah. I believe that if they had done imaging, they would have caught this, at the very least remove the offending kidney. And he would be with us today.
Right.
He would have had a little more time with us, so, and in the end, he realized that as well. And that's part of his message, because he realized that he should have done something sooner, and he wanted to start a foundation, and his mission statement wanted to be something related to men's health, but being as sick as he was distracted by that, pain and all of that. But he left a lot of notes and things, for us to pick up the torch and move forward, with this message.
Right.
Tim, like most men, especially a young man, he felt as though he was invincible. you know. And I myself, as a young man, felt that way. I'm pretty sure all of us in this room has felt invincible, like we'll be able to get through this.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So we just striving to, like Dad said, just be proactive. We know that men aren't going to the doctor. So our whole thing is we're going to bring the doctor to you. We're going to bring the resources to you. And so you don't have an excuse, you know, to say, hey, oh, well, I didn't know. If you're scared about going, we're going to go with you.
Right.
You know, if you need a resource, we're going to go with you. We have some strategic partnerships with some affordable healthcare companies so that can customize your benefits for you, you know, on your income, on how often you go to the doctor, your needs. So right now there are no excuses.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
yeah,
Finish.
and you know, we just don't want Tim's death to be in vain.
Right.
You know, there's so a lot of men who are not talking openly and honestly about what's going on because there are times that you feel as though you're the only one that's going through it.
Right.
I listen to women talk. Women talk
All the
open and
time.
candidly about what's going on with them.
I gotta look. I'm making my
Yeah.
gynecologist appointment later.
Yes.
Indeed.
Well, I think to piggyback on what you said too, Rich. I think as men, especially black men, we owe it to our families. We owe it to our communities to remain around. There's so much out here right now that takes us out.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know,
that's
jail,
right.
the jail system, violence, you know. But so if the one thing that we can help prevent to keep us here, so, you know, our families aren't without fathers because, you know, my dad, it kills me every day that my dad, same thing, tough guy. I just got a cold. Go to Vegas, sits in the bed for a whole day. My mom was like, nah, we going home because you never stay in the room when we go to Vegas.
Right.
But by the time we get home, stage 4 lung cancer.
Oh my.
You know, so I think we owe it as black men to take care of ourselves, to be around. But what I want to talk about real quick, and either one of you all can answer this. Let's talk about Tim before the cancer, because the Tim I met and I know was an absolute genius on the wheels and steels, and gave me a new perception of music and how I listened to it. What was Tim like just as a child growing up and teenage years when, you know, he started becoming the boy wonder that he was?
Defiant and stubborn. Oh my goodness.
To the end.
He just loved, he'd take his dad's vinyl
Oh, God.
and he would definitely scratch it.
Like, boy, don't be in there messing up my record.
And Dad would,
At what age would you
and-
say that was?
that was like,
God, I was in grade school.
Wow.
yes, grade
Grade
school.
school, yeah.
And Dad would say, boy, I know you didn't scratch my record, you know.
Or where are my records?
Where?
right,
Yes,
right.
yes.
Baby, you seen my live concert Parliament Funkadelic record? Tim!
That was me all the time. Tim.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd come home from work and there would be Ron and Dinky. They'd be in the bathroom because the acoustics in there were good. They were all trying to rap, or the furniture would be moved back and they'd have that piece of
Plywood, yeah.
yes, break dancing, and the old PJ was in there too. He was trying to break dance with them too. It was always in my face. I'd come home and I would be like, who are you? Who is that?
Why you here?
And you know, I didn't want to break that spirit
Right.
because I didn't know. I grew up around music. You know, my dad played the trombone and all that music was all in his family, and then my mom's family and my sisters and brothers. I got 9 siblings, so everybody was into music. So I said, well, maybe somebody's gonna do it in our kids, you know. So a lot of times I just had to like bite my tongue and go downstairs and just shut the door.
But you know one thing about Tim, I worried about him. He was the one child I worried about because he didn't do well in school. You know, we were constantly taking him to a doctor. He doesn't learn. It's not that he's stupid or anything like that. Come to find out, it wasn't until he was an adult that we found out it just didn't interest him.
Right.
So that word to all you parents out there: if your child's having trouble in school, just keep working at it, because it might be that they're just not
into it,
or the teachers aren't reaching them. Right. So I can't complain about the results with Tim.
Absolutely.
I wanted to jump in there really quick because the way you described your household with the music playing and you guys are coming home and all of these people in your house, it sounds very similar to my growing up. You know what I mean? We were doing the same thing. We were in the basement messing with my dad's records. And it got to a point, and I remember particularly my dad coming down one time saying, well, y'all turn down that damn LJ Cool J. But at some point in my growing up, it went from turn down that damn LJ Cool J to, okay, there's an interest in this. You know, my father bought me my first turntable. You know, I started DJing, and it led to me doing this now. And the things that was going on in your household led to Timbuck2 being who he was. So at what point as parents did you guys say, okay, I know it's maybe aggravating at times, but let me jump in and support him because you never know how far to go?
Well, for me, it was when Howie came to the house and asked if he could take him, have him DJ one night at a club. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, Tim had always been around Twilight Tone.
Shout out to Tom.
Common, and Kanye.
Kanye.
And I was a little apprehensive because they were years ahead of him in age. But it was, like I said, it was one thing that he seemed to truly be excited about. Right. So after threatening Howie with bodily harm, and basically he showed me this gentleman will be with him at all times. No one will be allowed in the booth, and he will not be allowed outside the booth. And that, and I guess what over at WHPK with Tone.
Yeah.
The Late Show.
The Late Show.
So he DJ'd his first club gig at what age?
Well, we found out years later that he had snuck out of the house. In a snowstorm in wintertime. First, PJ, he was probably a freshman, and PJ had his learner's permit. So PJ drove him to the place where it may have been Slicks or something like that.
Slicks.
I'm not, you know what? I'm not sure. I know that PJ drove him there and then was supposed to pick him up, and PJ got the call from Tim, ring, ring, I'm ready for you to pick me up. And PJ said, man, you should get home the best way you can. I'm not going to do this anymore for you. And so there was Tim in a snowstorm with his crates at the bus stop.
Yeah.
And I don't know who it was, but somebody who was in the club saw Tim sitting at the bus stop with these crates. And this was his passion, and picked him up and said, you know, boy, come on, I'll give you a ride home.
Wow.
And I didn't hear that story until he was over the age of 18.
Because you keep all those secrets.
Till you get old enough where if they tell you, to get out, you can go to your own crib. You can't share that stuff when you still living there.
Right.
Rich, so let's talk about the show, because it is a show. I mean,
Indeed.
we call it a tribute, but the DJs that go up there, fabulous guys from Rich Medina, Clark Kent, been in the building. EPMD fell through last year, and it's just a vibe and an energy. What can the people expect this year if they come support Timbuck2 Forever?
Well, this year it's just bigger and better. It's more of everything that we've had for the past 2 years, and then some. We got some partnerships that we can't really speak about.
Right.
We got some people coming that we can't really speak about, but just understand that.
Brilliant host.
Yes. Now the host we could definitely talk about that. The host, Leon,
this
Cal,
amazing.
Kendra, I mean, like, wow.
Amazing.
Like those people,
And
like, we were able to talk about that.
Appreciate the plug.
Appreciate the plug.
But we don't want to create chaos, but I'm just get it out there.
I was going to keep it on the low.
Nah.
Since you let it out the box,
Yeah,
Leon, Kyle, and Kendra will be hosting this year. It's going
Thank
to be
you
crazy.
so much.
Man, it's a pleasure to be a part of this particular event and tribute, man.
Yeah.
Like, I was upset the first year, maybe the last 2 years, I just happen to be out of town.
Yeah.
So for me, it's going to be. I'm excited about being there.
Yeah,
just
we
being-
are too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just being in the building, you got guys from the who's who of the industry in Chicago is in the building, and I always say this, but we know a lot of you. So you got the fashion guys, you got leaders, you got Juggernaut, you got Success,
Sir Madam,
you got Sir Madam,
Fat
Fly,
Tiger.
you got Fat Tiger Works, you got everybody in the building. We all know each other, and that's crazy that 6 degrees of separation with everybody that's in that building. Sometime or another, you were at a Timbuk party, or you know him, or you talk to him, and this is
You
how
went
you
to school with him.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
you,
crazy.
You hired him to spend your party.
Right.
You know, I mean, one thing's for sure is that the city has not let Tim's legacy go to waste. I mean, Leon, I tell you, I love you, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it,
I
man.
mean, I've seen you in the past 2 years. Take every opportunity that you have that you could be promoting yourself or promoting what it is that you do, and you always repping Tim. Like we love you for that, bro.
Yes.
No,
Like I mean,
it touches home to me though. Like I said, I lost my dad to cancer.
my
Kendra
mom,
lost her mom to cancer, and so it's a thing. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Tim was always a quiet dude. When I first met him, I was just like, this brother's weird.
Yeah.
I can't figure him out. When I was working, because he'd come in,
Right.
little ninja hood on, do his thing, and boom, bounce back out. But then one day I called him and I cornered him. I said, hey man, what's up, man? Like we be walking past and you don't speak. He's like, nah, man, you a comedian. I don't want no time.
Right.
I said, man, I ain't on that, man. And then from then on out,
Right.
it was like, because he thought, since I was a comedian,
You was
I
gonna
just
treat him.
line up
Right.
people and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And I'm like, no,
Oh, yeah.
bro. You know, and then when I came out and saw how he worked and just saw the mastery of the art form, it actually made me want to pick up the craft of DJing, you know, and I was just like, man, this dude is dope. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Like, and it's just so when he, I didn't even know he was sick, like a lot of people did.
Yeah,
And I
it's
come in and see him, like, how you feeling, brother? I'm good, man. You know, and I don't press nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me you good, but you know, you can see in his eyes like there's something wrong, but I thought maybe it was the toils and troubles of working for a corporation and you're a free spirit and you're a DJ and they telling you can't do certain things. But then when he passed, I was just like, man, like this is crazy. And I thought the same thing I thought when my father passed, like why the good ones go?
yeah.
Right.
Because there's a couple out here that I
and
see
you
them
know
every
what?
day at the barber shop.
Yeah.
I be like, your ass not supposed to be here.
True indeed.
Who you been at
Bring
party?
me Trey, bring me my man, man.
Right.
And then you going check up out of here. Ain't nobody gonna be upset.
Hey, I got a trade going on.
Trey DJ,
Yeah, they
right?
can make
sure.
that little, Jesus, hey, I'm make a phone call. We gonna make the little shirts for you, but you can go.
Indeed.
That's so you know,
Indeed. But what you said that you could tell something was wrong, but you didn't probe to go even further.
Nah.
And that's something I'm doing now. I mean, we make our friends uncomfortable at times because it's like, hey, Kyle, what's up, man? Good to meet you. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good.
When the last time you been to the doctor?
And then they hit you with
You know, so you know, we have been having some uncomfortable conversations because I'd rather have the conversation than not.
Right.
And then somebody talk about, the funeral is going on. I would rather have that conversation and say, look, Kyle, let's go ahead and let's go together.
Right.
Like everybody's posting the new sneakers that came out, their outfit of the day, or the Jay-Z concert. I've yet to see someone say post their results from them going to the doctor, and that's what we just striving to do to make going to the doctor and living a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
We want that to be just as cool as your sneakers.
Right.
No question.
Because Tim said it best. He said, "Rich, I have all this stuff right here, and I can't take none of it with me."
Wow,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
Listen, man, I'm saying
Right.
we support that whole movement and everything that you guys are doing.
Before we go, I want to talk to the parents one more time. I remember when Michael Jackson passed, like it was around the BET Awards, and Janet Jackson had to like go on stage like 2 days later. And I'll never forget when she said, to you guys, Michael Jackson was an entertainer, but to us, he was family. And Leon obviously was the closest one with Timbuck2 out of all of us three. I definitely knew him and was blessed enough to be in his presence. But as the mom and dad, how has the last 2 years been for you two?
It's been
hard.
difficult sharing.
Yeah.
Because we didn't, even though Tim wanted to start a foundation, we really weren't like jumping up to go and do that right away until Rich and Demo came over to the house with that donation check from the first event, and they started talking about, let's start a foundation, and they had all of these enthusiastic ideas, and they started talking, and we were just
You're still
grieving, yes. And I was just balled up in the corner of the couch, like, what are they talking about? Do they really know what they're getting into? Leave me alone. Don't bother me about this. And then the more they talk, the more, but, it became a distraction and something to do besides just sit there and walk around the house and past his bedroom and the pictures and all that other stuff.
Yeah, but at the same time, it didn't give us a lot of time to grieve. I think that's something in the future we will have to deal with, because in order to make this kind of a success, I think our whole group, Demo, my son PJ, Rich, we all have to think of Tim as still being here in the present. Thinking of him as something or someone who's part of the past, it kind of takes things away. That's why we try so hard to keep him relevant in the future by basically trying to save men's lives and in effect save families by saving those men. But it has been hard. If you visit our website or our other social medias, you'll see things that we've posted. And it's kind of hard when you have to look at night after night. You see him, but you can't really touch him. And that at times causes you a lot of sleepless nights, but you have to keep your eye on the end game.
Well, I know coming, I think I can speak for everybody on the Chicago Morning Takeover. What we lost in Tim in the physical, the spiritual, and the legacy remains, And I go far enough to say whether you guys were doing a foundation or not, the effect that young man had on this city is crazy. From Go Ill Radio to being out in the clubs to touring with artists.
The industry in general.
The industry in general.
Not even just the city.
Like it blew my mind when I see cats, like, I do comedy, I travel, so I go to New York and I have on the hat, and my man, was like, yo, that's the brother from Chicago, man. I just saw this article about him and whoop the bam, and I'm sitting up here like, damn, I could only wish to be. I hope I get in a Defender if I die. Oh my God! I say, y'all know about Tim? I want to get in the Defender or the Red Eye. So just the fact that his legacy and his spirit remains on, and you and his brothers and sisters and the parents and just the city itself. I would keep Demo, how to keep the name alive. To me, that's just incredible. Yeah. And we got to help cut the fear of the unknown and black men going to the doctor.
We are here.
I do. I mean, listen, man. I don't want to walk in there and my doctor come back in the room and be like, man. I'm like, I think we all kind of get scared of that, but we got to try to help each other.
We do. And the foundation is here. We advise everyone for looking for resources to log on to the website, our social media outlets.
Tell everybody what those are for people that might not be familiar. The website, what is the website? What is the social media handle? All of those.
The website is www.timothyfrancisjonesfoundation.org. The Instagram is TFJ_foundation. Facebook?
At Tim's Foundation.
Okay. All right.
Well, look, it is a very emotional thing. We understand that and respect that, and we appreciate your strength in moving forward. But I would like to end this conversation on a high note because Tim left such a positive legacy behind. You know what I mean? And we're happy to be able to be a part of the tribute this year. We appreciate you guys including us in the tribute. We want to invite everybody from the city to come out and celebrate this man's
Please
life
do.
Party.
and his
Get
legacy.
your tickets right away.
And I just feel like, if
I'm stage diving. I'm just letting y'all know.
You gotta not.
You stand in the first 8, you gonna get landed on.
if there's anything I love.